Hello, Melissa Lemon here. I'm so glad you're joining me. It's January 8th, and this month we are working on having more joy and doing something about our seasonal depression. Simple little things every day that we can do to help heal from seasonal depression and have a better January. That's the goal, and I'm so glad that you're here joining me today. So, today, I want to talk a little bit about spiritual practices and how we can create a spiritual practice in our life without overwhelming ourselves. So, I belong to a church where there are a lot of spiritual practices that are taught and encouraged. And I know that personally, for me, as I've been on my own journey of anxiety and depression, there were times that, like, hearing the invitations were overwhelming and, like, um, you know, sometimes I'm just going to tell a story. So I had an ecclesiastical leader one time who on a regular basis would invite us to do something that was very specific and that was pretty daunting to me. And this was actually before I found energy healing. All I knew is that it was upsetting to me every time he asked me to do this thing because it was daunting, and it felt like he expected it of me. And it was a real struggle for me. And looking back, I recognize, first of all, that it was inappropriate of him to ask that of me. I don't think it was inappropriate for him to give the general invitation to his, congregation. He was doing what he thought was best and what he thought would help his congregation. But, he didn't know me personally. He didn't know my struggles. I was still getting to know myself, for heaven's sakes. And so for me to take that, and this is where I was making the mistake. I'm not going to say he was making the mistake. I was making the mistake of taking that. Like, he is giving me this personal thing and I have to do it. And now I see things differently. I'm like, he is giving a broad invitation to his entire congregation, and it is for me to decide what is best for me. I knew it was not good for me. I knew the invitation was, harmful to me because I was feeling so much anxiety and so much overwhelm, and at the invitation, it wasn't really good for me. And so, now if somebody's giving an invitation that I recognize isn't good for me, I throw it out the window. I really don't think about it anymore. It doesn't bother me. And that was something in me that needed to heal, and gratefully it did. But I do very much recognize the importance of having a spiritual practice. And I'm going to talk about some of those things today, some of the things that work for me, and I'll also talk about the things that do not work for me. What does not work for me is the every single day, same time, doing the same thing. That would bore me out of my mind, for one thing. and and when something feels like a check the box to me, I'm checking something off the box, it feels really not meaningful to me anymore. And if something's not meaningful spiritually to me, like, what's the point? And I don't feel the connection to God that I need to feel. And this is stuff I'm still learning about myself. And so as you begin to create a spiritual practice for yourself, I hope you will learn those things. Maybe you are someone who needs the daily thing at the same time. Maybe you're somebody who needs to read a specific amount of pages every single day, like your ecclesiastical leader has asked you to do. Maybe you're that person, and that's okay. We're all different. And the point is, we got to learn who we are and honor who we are and do what works for us. And, know when we can throw these invitations out the window, maybe, and all these things. So I'm just going to talk about a few of the spiritual practices that I have that I love and that are so meaningful for me. And the first one I'm going to talk about is prayer. So I talk to my higher power every day, sometimes all day long. Like, I cannot get enough of that contact, of that connection, and just being with him and learning more about him. And I say him, but to me, deity is more than one being. And so I will sometimes talk to who I consider to be my father, and I will sometimes talk to who I consider to be my mother, and I will sometimes talk to who I consider to be my brother and my savior. I've had conversations with the universe. I've had, what I mean? We don't have to put deity in a box, and it's okay if we do put it in a box. If it is something very specific to you, and and that's what you need and what you believe, like that's okay. Just do that. That like, but for me, the prayer is just one of my biggest things right now. And especially being intentional about it, for because for most of my life it's been like, yeah, I pray, I say the same thing over again, and it has really changed for me to be this very deep, meaningful, heartfelt, intentional conversation. A lot of the times a lot of the times I'll write it out. I'll write the words of the prayer out. Sometimes I'll speak them out loud. Sometimes I just feel it in my heart. But even when I'm feeling it in my heart, I've found that at least forming complete sentences, at least doing that much, is helpful. And sometimes I'm struggling so much I can't. All I can do is literally like reach up my heart to God, and I think He still hears us. Um, I really do believe there is a higher power who is listening and who is very much connected and concerned and wants us to have the very best in life. And prayer is just something that's really becoming this really meaningful spiritual practice to me. I don't always kneel down and pray morning and night. So, like again, sometimes I write it. Sometimes I'll just take time during the day. Sometimes it'll be just that constant conversation I'm having with deity throughout the day. It doesn't have to be in a box for me, and if it does for you, that's okay. But I would invite you to be more intentional about it and to be more um, open to learning about it, because to me, it's become more of this like, I want to learn who you are, and so I'm going to pay attention to the way I feel, to the thoughts that come into my mind, to the things that I feel like you're saying to me, and the answers that you're giving, because that all helps me get to know my higher power better. And so just being super intentional, I think, is a really good thing. So another spiritual practice that I love is I love reading what I would consider the words of God. I love reading spiritual text. I love reading uplifting text. It doesn't always have to be the word of God. I love finding truth in anything that I read. Getting through school, I hated to read growing up. It just wasn't. It wasn't my favorite thing. I honestly just hated it. And so when I was in school and there were required text, it was all I could do sometimes to get through it. But what got me through was looking for those little nuggets of truth that would be inside of a specific, book that I was reading or whatever. And so just constantly pondering, like, what is true, what is truth, because I do believe that there is like universal truth and universal reality and laws of the universe, and thinking about those and pondering about those and learning by experience for myself what those are is a deeply spiritual thing for me. And something else that I've also come to appreciate is meditation. And the one that I'm going to talk about is called the Kirtan Kriya, K-R-I, nope, yeah, K-I-R, being dyslexic in my head for a second, Kirtan Kryan. I probably totally butchered that. But that's okay. It's called the Kirtan Kriya. It's a meditation where you sit and you do a mantra, and you're supposed to have something on your head while you do it. And I've been trying to do that more regularly. I did it for an extended period of time, like every single day for an extended period of time, and it was really cool to see the shifts that were happening, to see my third eye open a little bit more, to just see the benefits of that. And even literally today, I woke up and I was like, what is my day going to look like today? What am I going to do today? And I just felt very powerfully that I needed to do this meditation today. I don't do it every day anymore, but I felt like today I needed to do it. And it kind of brought me back to, oh yeah, this is my goal. This is my plan. This is what I'm doing. And this is my life. And this is how I'm living it. And it's a really powerful meditation. And I'll just tell you really quickly, the mantra is Sa Ta Na Ma, which means birth, life, death, rebirth. And so as I'm doing this mantra over and over again, I'm kind of pondering those concepts of birth, life, death, rebirth, and it opens my mind to deity. I don't know, it's almost meditation sometimes is almost a different way to pray, a different way to allow that influence into our lives. And it can be really powerful. If you've never tried it, I highly encourage you to try it. Yoga can be deeply spiritual practice. Another spiritual practice could be a practice of gratitude, like taking time every day, or because I'm not an everyday person. But just remembering to show gratitude sometimes, remembering that can be the thing you do for a spiritual practice one day is to just show gratitude to somebody. And there are so many ways, but I think it's important that we are trying to make that connection every day. It could be going for a walk and just pondering the meaning of life, or just trying to connect to that higher power and understand our higher power a little better. But that's my invitation, is just to start a spiritual practice. Think about what that means for you, what that needs to look like for you. Maybe evaluate what it has looked like for you in the past. Is that something that you're struggling with, and why? What do you need to change, or what do you need? What support do you need to be able to implement a deeply spiritual practice in your life? But that is just something that 100% is going to raise your vibrations. It doesn't have to be all day. It doesn't have to be every single day at the same time. I do think every day is best, but we don't have to be perfect. We're not going to be perfect. It's okay. Allow yourself to make mistakes. Allow yourself to learn from those mistakes. Allow yourself to stumble and fumble on this journey of trying to figure out who you are and what you need to heal. And I know that our higher power is with you if you want him to be. He is with you. He's always there. All you have to do is ask and believe, and he's there. And you know what? I know that probably sounds cliche, but I know that that is true. I know that he doesn't go away because he's omnipresent. He's eternal. Like there's no way he can go. Like all we have to do is try. And if what we do or are doing isn't working, we need to try something else, or try harder, or heal some more. And as we do those things with intention, I know that we can feel the influence of our higher power in greater abundance in our life. And that is what I know. And that's my invitation for you today, is to create a deeply spiritual practice in your life and make it what it needs to be for you. And I just hope you're having a wonderful January, and I can't wait to keep going on this journey with you. I've got some fun things coming up, some free sessions coming up later in the month, and a couple of them. And so I hope you'll continue on this journey and keep going. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.